Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's me again, Mark, and today I just finished this painting of a succulent using my favorite coloring material, my Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. And so I figured out that I might as well make a review of these materials so that you can have an idea. Maybe you are also interested in coloring, and maybe you want to go with we want to try this medium, these watercolor pencils. So I hope that this review will help you, give you an idea on what it is, what it can do, and how you can use it. So I got the watercolor pencils right here, and this is what they look like when they arrive. When I bought them, I bought the 24-piece set because I wanted to have more colors. Okay, but I don't want to go too many colors. Okay, I want to be able to mix my own colors, so I didn't get the larger set. Okay, I just settled with the 24, and what it came with is these other Magnus Albrecht Dürer colored pencils. Okay, so these are the larger size watercolor pencils, and they also have sets of these, but they're not available here in the Philippines, or maybe they are discontinued, so I only have this one. And I find that I really like this extra color because I find that I'm using a lot of blues in my work, and this one I've been able to use a lot, so it's gotten shorter already. I've been sharpening it. Okay, so yeah, there's that, but we also have an extra of that inside here. So these are the colors that are included in the 24 set. Now I just replaced one of the colors here because I don't have a use for the gray, and I will explain it later, but I replaced it with a light purple pink. Okay, this one. I bought this because I figured that I would be using a lot of pinks when I'm coloring succulents, because a lot of times succulents are colored pink. And that's what's good about Albrecht Dürer color pencils. You can buy them individually if you don't want to go with sets, and you can choose the color that you want, probably the colors that you will always use. So you can go onto their shop on Shopee, or you can also find other sellers selling the pencils in individual colors. So yeah, you can find them if you don't want to buy the entire set, because this can get pretty expensive. Okay, I think it's about 2,000 or more in peso. Okay, but individually their price are around 150 or 160 each. Okay, so between that, probably 150 something. Okay, so that's how they cost. Okay, they're not very cheap. Okay, I will tell you, they are very expensive, which is why you can see that I haven't been using them a lot. Okay, but I know that if you want to get better at painting, or if you want to learn more about your materials, you just have to use them. So there are some colors here that I use a lot, so they are shorter here there. Okay, probably to give you an idea on the works that you can make with the colored pencils, I will show you my previous works. Okay, here is one of my sketchbook. This is one also of my older one. Okay, these are the swatches that I made, and you can see that they are really vibrant. They're really beautiful. Okay, and with this sketchbook, I think that I already used the same Albrecht Dürer pencils. I will show you some of my practice work. Okay, so this is a clothing study that has a very ugly face. Okay, I haven't figured out how to draw a good face. Okay, and there are also some other clothing studies here, and there are succulent studies here. You can see this one. We got a really nice succulent there. That one is a very good succulent study that I made a few days back. Okay, I really like how it turned out, and it's really beautiful. I really like the technique that I've been able to do using this one. So yeah, I will show you the process of my new succulent study later on. Okay, but yeah, that's what you can do with the colored pencils. This is another clothing study. These are some other succulent studies. Okay, you can see this one that is made with the Albrecht Dürer. I really also liked how this one turned out, though I made a mistake with the shadows, so I tried to avoid that with my new succulent painting. Yeah, there is also this one, which is an echeveria of some sort. I actually forgot the name. I really like how this one turned out, but because it's a white succulent, we're not gonna be painting it too dark, which is why this one might look really light. Okay, but it's actually a pretty good representation of the original succulent. With this one, I tried to use inks on it, but I figured that it's not that good because with inks I realized that you cannot layer a lot of watercolors, or probably it's just the ink that I used, but we got some ink bleeds here, so yeah, I didn't do that anymore. Okay, so I had to readjust because the shadows were not really not good and it's covering up the art. Okay, so here is the 3 portraits that I made recently using the Albrecht Dürer, and I can say that these are definitely done with the Albrecht Dürers. Okay, I've been studying a lot of the artists on Instagram. Probably you are also familiar, if you are an artist, you are familiar with Ricky Bezdicki, Hamrib, and Himlain art. Okay, there are a few portrait artists that I really like their style and I really like how they do their stuff, so I tried to emulate that with these portraits, and I really liked how it turned out. Okay, really beautiful. Okay, so those are the examples of artworks that you can also achieve using the Albrecht Dürers. Now I will say that you will still have to do some studying to make these really good art pieces. Okay, if you are a beginner, I would not guarantee that you will be making this type of work very quickly, because I also studied a lot. Okay, but you can achieve this using the watercolor pencils. Now, let's go on to the features of these watercolor pencils. Let me just start with the core, okay, or the color in the middle of the pencil. And with the Faber Castell, because they are a really established company, the cores of their Albrecht Dürer colored pencils are really tough. Okay, even if you drop the pencil, I've already dropped a lot of the pencils here. They will not break inside of their barrel, and once you sharpen them, they will still be intact. They will not pop off. Okay. Now there is one pencil here. I think it was a type of warm gray that keeps breaking off when I was sharpening it, but probably because the core of that is not aligned. Okay, so I can buy another warm gray, but I didn't want to use gray in my artworks, so I just bought the purple pink, which is why it doesn't have a gray here. Another feature of these color pencils is that they are very vivid. Okay, they are really brightly colored. And even with just using like a small amount, okay, just like slightly brushing the pencil on the paper. So even if you just brush some of color on the paper, okay, you can get like a really vibrant. You see that? Okay, how vibrant that paint is. Okay, so the pigment in that is really saturated. I will show you a comparison with the watercolor. This is a Holbein artist grade watercolor set. Okay, and you can see that the Albrecht Dürer can achieve the same color as the Holbein. You can see here that we have the ultramarine here. Okay, I also have an ultramarine here. Okay, I just applied this light layer of ultramarine there, but if I were to like try to achieve that same color, okay, probably not that dark, but we can get close. And if I apply water on it, this is a really saturated application. Okay, this is probably like close to straight out of the tube Holbein watercolor, so that is really saturated. Typically with watercolors we don't use that much saturation, but you can see here that with the Albrecht Dürer you can almost achieve the same color. Okay, there, once I activate it, okay, it's very close. Okay, that's how pigmented the colors are on the pencil. Okay, so they're almost like when you buy one of these colored pencils, it's like you're buying a tube of paint. Okay, that's how vibrant they are, and that's what I really like about these colored pencils. They are really vibrant. They're not light at all, and sometimes if you're not careful, okay, you might get really dark colors really quickly. Okay, because they are very pigmented type of material compared with the watercolors. Okay, if you apply water to these watercolors, they can get light, and once they dry they can get much more lighter. But with the Albrecht Dürer colored pencils, sometimes when they dry they don't get that light. Okay, their color when wet is a little bit closer to their color when they are dry. Now now that we've gone through all the features of the pencils, I would like to show you all the materials that I use with them, so that you can get an idea on what you can use if you are going to be using these ones. Okay, so I have here a scratch board. Okay, call this a scratch board, but this is just like a cover for a product, okay, that I actually cut off, okay, so that I can keep this rough part, because this is where I will like scratch my pencils before I apply them on paper. I will add spray of water, okay, so that's why I use this spray bottle, okay, and then I will activate it before applying it on the paper, okay. And I find that these are really good if you are going for a much more watercolor type of look, and if you like don't want streakiness on your paper, because if you apply the pencil directly on the paper, it will have some streakiness. Okay, so that's what I do. I have this scratch board and then a spray bottle. I also have a watercolor brush. Okay, I think that is one thing that you want to invest in if you're gonna be using these color pencils. What I find to be the most like excellent watercolor brushes are these travel brushes from Lemon Space. If you're in the Philippines, you can find their shop on Shopee. Their points or their brushes hold really well. They don't splay, and they hold their point, and I really like using them. I've used a lot of other brushes. I actually have a Faber Castell water brush here. This is also good if you like portability, and if you want some water on your brush, so that you're not going to be using the bottle or the water cup. Okay, so you can also use this one. But still, I would say that if you want to go with a much more quality brush, okay, I would recommend these travel brushes, because I really liked how they work, and the brush strokes that you can make with them is much more reliable compared with the usual like water brush that is this one. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to the bag. Okay, this is a bag from Siami Art, and I really like this one because it's much more portable. I place all of my color pencils in this one, okay, because their tin case is actually not that portable. I don't have a bag that will fit this tin case, so I put them all in here. Now for the other materials that I use them with is this sharpener from Faber Castell. I really like this one because it has a much more bigger hole, okay, so I can sharpen my large size pencil with this one. But also I would say these pencils are also much more thicker than your other pencils. Okay, that is one thing that you might want to know, okay, because some other pencils are much more thinner. This one has a like a thicker barrel to them, okay, which is why I would recommend a sharpener like this one, okay, because some other sharpeners might not work with the size of the pencil because it's much more thicker. Probably the hardest one that you will have to find is a scratch board like this one. There is a scratch board that is being sold by a brand named Caran d'Ache, and it's available in Shopee, but it's very expensive, so I didn't buy that. Now if you don't have a scratch board like this one, you can also scratch your pencils on a piece of watercolor paper before applying them on your artwork. Okay, you can scrub them here, use it as a palette, and then apply it on your artwork. Yeah, but that is going to be wasting a lot of pigments, so I would recommend that you also find a scratch board like this one. Okay, so that is probably the most difficult like material that you have, but once you find a good scratch board, okay, I will really say that it really helps a lot with using the watercolor pencils. Okay, now to demonstrate some of the techniques that you can do with the pencils, I will show you like a shortened version of my artwork. This succulent that I recently made, okay, I'll probably show you some clips of that. So as you can see here, I'm doing the same thing that I demonstrated earlier. I'm scratching my pencil on my scratch board, applying water in it, and then applying it on our artwork. And for these first layers, or probably I did it for all the layers, I'm just applying the color and then rinsing my brush so that I can remove the color, and then I will brush over the color that I applied, so I will have like faded edges. Sometimes I will do that, especially on those areas where the colors fade and they don't have a very sharp edge. I will fade them. I will say that this method only applies if you are using very wet layers of your watercolor, and I would recommend using like a really tough watercolor paper for this method, because if your watercolor is very saturated, if you don't dilute it with water, it might be hard to lift the color off, especially with these watercolor pencils. Their colors are very dark, and once they are applied in the paper, it's very hard to lift them. So I would recommend that you do this very quickly, and that's what I did here. I applied the water and then like rinse my brush very quickly so that I will get faded edges, and that's how I achieved those smooth gradations of yellow green and blue green on the succulent. I actually applied yellow green on the inner layers of the leaves, because that's what I saw in the reference photo, and I think that gives the succulent like a glowing vibe, and that is really beautiful. And now I'm just adding some more layers. I actually added the shadow layers here on this part of the video, and I'm adding more layers so that we will have more depth and we will have more color. So yeah, that's basically what you can do if you want like a smooth artwork of a succulent, because succulents are really smooth. You might want to apply layers gradually and not just brush the pencil straight on the paper and then activate it with water. I would recommend that you just dilute it with water first before applying it on your paper, so that you will have a much more smoother looking succulent. And that's what I did on this one. Now for the final details, there you can see that I already used a different type of colored pencil that was just to add like the darkest parts and probably add some more separation with the colors. Yeah, but yeah, you can achieve that also with your Albrecht Durers. Probably I will show you a different video where I utilize the Albrecht Durers as pencils. Yeah, you can subscribe so that you won't miss that. But yeah, I hope that you really like the result of this painting and the tips that I shared with you. I would highly recommend Albrecht Durers if you can afford them, and they are a great material. They're a great medium to play with. But I think that's about it for this video, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!